Hey, how's it going? Um, I recently, after like trying this track Thunderhill East for a couple of years, I finally got somewhere around like 2 minutes and 2 seconds on my S2000. And before I forget how I tackle every single turns, I think it's probably a good idea for me just to like record everything I learned over the time and share whatever I have, such that down the road if I forget anything, I can always come back to this video and remind myself how every single corner and how we actually tackle all of them. Um, if you look at like the faster guys like Gary Yang, Gary Wong, and Jason, they carry a lot more speed than I do. So this video is merely like a starting point, and by no means is the fastest way to get through Thunderhill East. But I figure like if you're like new to like tracking, you're new to the track, at least I can give you some pointers and like some references so that you can work on it. So the car that I'm driving today is a S2000. It's track prepped. It has a splitter. It has like APL GTC 200 wing at the back. It has like KWV3 on it and running on Yokohama A052. Depending on your car setup, especially if you're on a higher horsepower car or like any other momentum cars, like your lines and your braking point will be a little bit different compared to mine. So just keep that in mind when you are trying to use this as your reference tutorial. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and see what we get here. So going straight, this car has like F22C on it. We can usually, on a really good day, we can get to like 119 miles per hour before we head to the first corner. And what you really want to look out for is like those little markers on the right side. So what I do here usually is like when I get to the 300 marker right here, I'm going to start downshifting from 6th gear to 5th gear, just to like try to get it under a little bit like 90 miles per hour, because like for the Yokohama, like I'm pretty sure they can go beyond 85 miles per hour, but I want to be a little bit mindful of that because like I don't want to like spin my car and crash out. So let's go ahead with that. And my turning point is like around like 100 meter on this, right on this cone right here. And what I do here, as you can see from where my head is turning, I'm already looking at the apex, which is like right here. I didn't push as far as I could have been because like my buddy like Terry is like right here, so I want to make sure that I give him a little bit of space before we like start going into the corner. And what I do here is I just keep an eye on like my entry speed. We're looking at 90 miles per hour and try to maintain that. And at this point, I'm already looking at the exit. So the exit strips is like around like here-ish. In normal circumstances, depending on how hard I push, I sometimes might land my right tires on them. But if I can control it really, really clear, have like a really good lines, I don't necessarily have to use them. Let's go on with that. And yeah, so from turn 1 to turn 2 is basically a straight line, and what we want to watch out for is like somewhere around like this right here. Because for like faster guys, especially for those like on motorcycles, the way you really look at turn 2 is like instead of like a big semicircle, you can take it as like you can trail brake into like a corner and form like a straight line. And then right in the middle of the apex, you can basically like track out like as if like there's like an apex in the middle. I don't think I did it with that approach with this lap, but that's usually how you can do to get even a faster entry speed and get like a faster exit speed for your lap time. Let's go on with that. Yeah, a little bit trail braking. I can definitely go a little bit faster, but again, because Terry is right in front of me, I don't want to run into. This is your exit, and gotta make it like a note on this point. Like you can use actually all the track right here on the right side. going into here, like this is gonna be interesting corner though. Turn 3. Turn 3, it's basically like off camber. If you like look deeper, if you have like a chance to walk the track, it's like this. Like the inside is a little bit slanted and outside is a little bit tilted towards there. But the problem with turn 3 is because like after turn 3 it's an immediate like left turn to turn 4. So realistically what you really want to do is to keep your car to the inside as much as you can so that you have a better exit on turn 4. And for other cars, like you don't really want to like stay on the outside right here because there's going to be a lot of debris. Most of the traction happens with the mid to the inner side, and you want to keep your car that way. So let's go on. For like other S2000, like if you go really fast, you can probably do like 70 miles per hour. I try to keep it at a decent speed because again I don't want to run into my buddy up front of me. But for cars like mine that has like a OS Gaiken LSD, you can probably start accelerating and get a little bit more aggressive around this corner. If you still have like your Torsen like LSD like stock from like your S2000, you want to be a little bit mindful of that because like any throttle input you put onto that, your rear is gonna kick out. And I lost my car here a couple of times from like the previous track days. So turn 3 to turn 4 here, like the way I did it is because I have like an LSD, I try to contain my steering input and use my throttle to rotate my car into the corner. But for like other guys, again, if you're on stock LSD, like you want to be a little bit careful with that and always watch out for corrections at this point. One thing to note here is like even when you're running bypass or cyclone, like you actually have a lot of room, especially like here. You have a lot of room to go over. So if your car is like understeering at this point, you can just keep on pushing for that because you have a lot of runway to like keep going. Let's go on. So, and here's the most famous bypass. Bypass is an interesting corner because on a lot of cars you might have to tap a little bit or upshift a little bit to keep your head down. For the S2000, what I do is I try to set up the car in a way such that by the time we reach the top of the bypass right here, the front of my car is already pointing towards the right side. And I'll tell you why. The reason for this is like if you look at the bypass as like from like the bird's eye view, it's basically like a slanted, a little bit turned to the right side, and like it's not even when you do that. So if you do this right, by the time you hop over the bypass, your car will have a little bit of a lateral slide to the left side, but your tires, especially if you're running like something like more sticky like A052, you're able to catch it and like keep going straight right after the turn. So let's take a look at that. A little bit to the right. And try to pull my car to the right side. Yep, there we go. And turn 6 is where we have a little bit of a problem. If you look at turn 6, 7, 8, it's essentially like a huge left turn. And what you really want to do is to like keep the speed of turn 6 as much as you can, turning into the apex. And making sure that you're not sacrificing too much speed going out, because like again, the more speed you carry through the corner, the faster you go. For this particular corner in my car, what I try to do is like I try to get a little bit of a late apex such that I'm aiming for the straight line speed as much as we can through the turn. And again, like on the right side, you actually have a lot of runway. Sometimes I try to land my wheels on the stripes over here. You don't really have to do that, but that's also a good indication of how much speed you're carrying through. Same for turn 7. Now, turn 8 is the part where things get slightly sketchy. The reason why I'm saying it's a little bit sketchy is because for other cars, like high horsepower car, you basically need to like have a little bit brake into like maybe 100 miles per hour right around this area. And the key part here is less so about how much speed you carry through the corner, but more about the lines. Because if you have the lines, you can have the speed, and you just have to like work your way through that. For the S2000 in particular, like the mental picture that I am thinking about all the time is like I want to get a feel for the sense of how the suspension settle, especially going through the apex. Because like if I'm not getting the lines right, or if my tire's about to go out, then I need to anticipate a correction like right around here. And the worst possible could possibly happen is like if you spin your car and end up like flipping sideways. So what I try to do is to like mentally prepare myself, saying that okay, if I have to go off, there's plenty of space I can go off right here, and try to keep the wheel straight when that happens. So I think it took me like maybe 3 to 4 track days before I'm like super comfortable of like keeping my foot flat out through this corner. It's definitely something to work on. But what I do recommend is like, you know, when you first start doing that, just do it at like 80 miles per hour. Just like work on the lines all the time, and slowly building up the speed and get a feel for how your car and the suspension settle along the way, such that by the time you go over like 100 miles per hour, you know you're in safe hands and you know what to expect. Again, key part here is looking at when to turn in. By the time you like reach like around like this area, you should be like your car should be straight, pointing straight towards like the apex and going out. And you want to basically limit your steering input like going into here, such that like you know your car is very predictable and you're not doing too much correction in the mid corner. Let's take a look. So in here, like what I did here is like I try to also calibrate. If I do this right, my left wheels is going to be basically like landing on this little pavement on it and pointing the car like around the end of the corner. A little bit of correction here. Again, I think that from a tire perspective, like my tire pressure was optimal. I have like around like 35 Celsius on my tire, so heat and traction were almost optimal. But again, I'm not extremely happy with the way how I handled this, because there's still a little bit of a correction I need to do at the end of the turn. But if you do it really nicely, like the car should be settled like around like here, and just keep going straight. Now, turn 9 is also interesting. Turn 9 reminds me a lot of like Laguna Seca turn 6, where you have to like basically brake a little bit and turn, and before you even get into the apex, you're already like, you know, guessing on it. The reason why we're doing this is because if you like look at the actual track, this itself is an uphill. This is a steeper uphill. So anything you do here, like you already have like the gravity helping you out. You're getting a lot of like a lot of camber turns over here. So like your car, if you do this right, your car is already sitting on the camber, and all you have to do is just to like throttle it out. Not a particularly good corner. You can see like missing a little bit apex on the left side. Some people, like the way they do it is like they try to watch for the water tower like around here. For me myself, like I try to keep the wheel straight at this point as much as possible, because I do know like the corner after this is kind of a little bit of curve to the right side. So if you stay like around here-ish and go straight, then you're always on the track no matter what. Basically a bit of drag race going to turn 10. Here. So the way I judge my braking marker is like I look when I'm going over the hill here. Like if I see a little bit of the cone right here, little pylon here, this is the time where I need to brake. The fuck up thing I did with this lap is like I forgot how much more speed I'm carrying through, because usually I do like maybe like 99 miles, but for this lap I was carrying a lot of speed from before, so I misjudged that and I missed my turn. So you can see, take a look and see how I fucked up here. Yep, there we go. And turn 11, this is also a pretty interesting turn. The reason for this is because like this is a very slow corner compared to all these other corners you have here around the track. What that really means is like if your car has a lot of downforce in terms of aero, your aero is not going to help that much. Like this is a very mechanical turn, and it really puts the traction on your tires on your car to test. So what I try to do there is like I always try to look for the cone. This guy, this is actually your apex point. As you can see, this is like a really late apex. You want to basically put your car right here and then turn, and then when you see the cone, and then you gas out. Because if you like are running out of tires, or if your tires is like too high pressure, any throttle input around here is gonna send you flying right off the bat. Yeah, as you can tell, that was a little bit conservative, and yeah, let's take a look at what happened next. Some people like cut the corners here, like sometimes they put like the pylons like right here. I like to cut it because my car can do it, why not? But your mileage may vary. One of the things I would always prevent is like do not get onto this patch. If you have one side of the car like getting onto the gravel, you're not gonna get any traction, and you're gonna spin. Basically drag race here, just go all the way, this is like the last turn of this circuit, and the way I think about this is like this is also a really good way to figure out how much braking power you have. For my S2000 in particular, I'm using the Willwood like something front caliper set, so I do have a lot of stopping power on my fronts. My braking reference is like somewhere around like 300 to like 200 meter marker, and the way I usually do it is like I try to brake as hard as I can, downshift to third gear, and then what I do is like when I turn in, I do just tiny bit of trail braking into here, such that I set the car for like a more stabilized rear when I get into the corner. Again, depending on the brake setup, yours might be different, but for mine, it works out pretty well for the most part. So for this particular corner right here, there is actually a lot of runoff around this area. You can use as much as you can before you get into like this turn over there. The reason for that is, again, the more space you get for yourself, the more speed you get, and the better the corner is going to be. So let's take a look. And there we go. The reason why I'm always checking my rear mirror and my side mirror is such that like I want to make sure that any high horsepower car that's coming up to me, it will not be a surprise. Again, this is like Miata / like S2000 problems. This is usually where like the fast car like get their speed. You always want to keep an eye on that. Looks like we're clear. And boom. This is how you do Thunderhill East. And again, not the best lap you can ever possibly get, but if you follow these instructions, I'm pretty sure you can get somewhere around like 205. Most of the corners that I need to work on is probably like turn 9 and turn 10, and if we execute those correctly, I'm pretty sure we can get under 2 minutes. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, like let me know. Welcome any feedback. But yeah, cheers.